Welcome to Hunter Beyond Time and Space Chapter 46. Visiting Relatives. Right in the gym area, Yiwan took out a thermos lunchbox. The thermos lunchbox has an LED screen that displays the temperature inside the box, as well as options for heating, humidifying, air frying, and cooking rice. Qin Chen thought to himself, isn't this just an electric rice cooker without a power cord? It seems that there is also a Yunlu tower near the prison. Yiwan opened the lunchbox to reveal neatly arranged pieces of beef. Let's eat, Yiwan said. But aren't we supposed to train? Isn't it bad for the stomach to eat now? Qin Chen asked. We'll use breathing techniques to train. If you don't eat, your body will collapse because of the high energy consumption, Yiwan explained. Qin Chen felt the wonder of the breathing technique and suddenly asked, wait a minute, when I use the breathing technique, I clearly feel an inexplicable breath wandering through my body. It doesn't seem to have any real substance or benefits for the body, but I seem to be able to control it. Yiwan shook her head, I'm not sure about that. You can ask the boss. Okay, Qin Chen didn't ask any further. The next morning, the countdown was 20 hours and 20 minutes. Lin Xiaoxiao sat at the table and asked Yiwan, how was the progress last night? Most people can't handle high-intensity training when they first start. How long did he last? Yiwan glanced at him and said, full load, from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Hold on, he clearly hasn't trained before. How did he last until 3 a.m.? Lin Xiaoxiao was stunned. Yi mama, don't train him to death. What's there to be afraid of with breath control? Yiwan shook her head. Before training, I had him eat a whole box of beef, which he consumed during the training. The boss specifically instructed me, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. For an ordinary person starting high-intensity training on the first day, this training method would probably not work, and they might even develop rhabdomyolysis. Even with breath control, he will still get tired, Lin Xiaoxiao muttered. Yiwan shook her head again, he seems to be able to separate his body and mind, pursuing only the training goal and disregarding physical exhaustion. I've never seen anything like it. If he hadn't traveled through time, he would have already awakened as a supernormal being based on this willpower alone. That's a good thing. If he had awakened earlier, he wouldn't be an ordinary person and wouldn't be able to follow the boss's path, Lin Xiaoxiao said. At this point, it was time for breakfast at prison number 18. The alloy gates opened one after another, and the prisoners lined up to go downstairs. Qin Chen stood honestly in line, still looking like he had no privileges. Lin Xiaoxiao glanced over at Qin Chen and was surprised to see that he looked energetic, with no signs of the aftereffects of 4 days of fasting. He turned to Li Shutong and asked, Boss, is breath control really that amazing? Why don't you try it on me tonight? I feel like I could still salvage something. Li Shutong stared at the chessboard, not even lifting his head, and said, when I asked you to try it before, you didn't dare. Now it's too late, you're too old. I'm only 27. Lin Xiaoxiao said. The longer you live, the more suffering you experience, Li Shutong said. After you turn 20, you'll experience more worldly suffering, and using breath control won't help you pass the test of your conscience. We used to think we suffered a lot when we were young, but we only truly understand the difference when we become adults. As Qin Chen lined up to go downstairs, he sat far away from Li Shutong. Li Shutong was a little melancholic, although I had him act like he was being ostracized, there is no one left to help me solve the endgame now. Just as he was speaking, the broadcast in prison number 18 suddenly sounded, inmate number 010101, inmate number 002199, inmate no, have visitors. Please follow mechanical guard number 03 to the visitation room. 010101 was Qin Chen's number. He was stunned. He had been in the inner world for so long, yet this was the first time anyone had come to visit him. In fact, he had forgotten that there was such a thing as family visits in prison. Lu Guangyi said to him, "Boss, today is visitation day. It's probably Qin Yan who has come." "Okay," Qin Chen nodded and got up. He followed the more than 80 inmates to line up, and then passed through the huge alloy gate and walked through the long corridor. The walls of the corridor were also made of metal, and there were 2 white stripes on the ceiling, making it look like they were walking in a time-space tunnel. On the way, some prisoners taunted others. "Han Lin Shan, your sister came to see you again, ask your sister for a photo, let me borrow it tonight." One prisoner named Han Lin Shan cursed angrily, saying that if it wasn't for visiting hours, they would have started fighting. As long as everyone was in line, the mechanical prison guards wouldn't interfere with the noisy prisoners. In the queue, only Qin Chen was quiet. No prisoner dared to joke with him, and even the prisoners behind him deliberately kept their distance. When he arrived at the separate visitation room, Qin Chen pushed open the door and saw a young man sitting inside. The other person was about 25 or 26 years old, with a short black haircut that looked very tough. This should be Qin Yan. The other person was wearing a gray suit, and only the palms of his hands were mechanical limbs. However, this was probably the most exquisite mechanical limb Qin Chen had ever seen. The surface of each finger seemed to have been carefully polished, with golden patterns on both sides, and beautiful ginkgo leaf patterns on the back of the hand, like the scepter of the Black Hand. Ginkgo leaves were the symbol of the Qin family. Qin Chen sat down in front of him, and Qin Yan looked at him coldly and said, "The second and fourth branches have submitted documents to the family court complaining that you provoked Li Shutong for no reason, which led to Li Shutong's displeasure. Although we Qin family are not afraid of Li Shutong, we also do not intend to make enemies with the knights and the hegemony. We hope that you will be more honest in the number 18 prison and not cause any trouble." Qin Chen was stunned for a moment. Before this, when Lu Guangyi mentioned Qin Yan, he thought he was an ally. But now it seems that he is not. He thought for a moment and asked, "Anything else?" Qin Yan said in a cold voice, "Have you thought about your situation? Other candidates have help, but you don't. Why do you think you can compete with them? Both the second and fourth houses are determined to win this time. Don't let yourself become a pawn for others. Let me give you some advice, marry the Xindai Quan of the Xindai family, and you will still have a place in the Qin family." Qin Chen looked expressionless, but inside he was anxious. What kind of magical development was this? He still had a marriage contract in the other world. And judging by the name, it didn't seem like a Chinese name at all. Xindai was one of the 5 major companies. Qin Chen thought for a moment and said, "I still plan to try again." Qin Yan seemed surprised by Qin Chen's response. He adjusted his collar and calmly said, "As you wish. But I must tell you, although the court did not impose any punishment on you, the family will not support you anymore. We never intended for you to participate in the Shadow War, but you insisted on it and took the place of the third house. Don't expect any more support. If you can complete the task, then it's best. If not, you can stay in cell 18 until your sentence is up." "Okay." Qin Chen calmly stood up and left without saying anything more to the well-dressed Qin family member. Qin Yan was a little angry at the sight of this. "Did you even listen to what I said?" he asked. Qin Chen spoke to the mechanical prison guard outside the door. "Hello, I'm done here." "Wait." Qin Yan softened his tone. "Xindai Quan came to visit you with me this time. You should at least see her once, otherwise, both families won't be satisfied." Qin Chen said, "Okay." Qin Yan left, and 5 minutes later, another person came in. It was a girl of 17 or 18, whose looks were not stunning, but somehow gave off a fresh feeling. The girl was dressed in formal wear on top and a formal skirt that just reached her knees on the bottom, looking like a very formal meeting. But the girl didn't seem to wear this kind of clothes often, so she seemed a little uneasy. Qingchen looked at the girl. She had a small mole beside her nose and there was no trace of makeup on her skin. After the girl sat down, she didn't make eye contact with Qingchen and occasionally glanced at him, but didn't say anything. Both sides remained silent. Until the broadcast announced that the visiting time was over. The girl whispered in Japanese, "It seems nice to sit quietly like this, but this boy's silence is really beautiful." What? Qingchen was confused. The girl smiled, "It's nothing." The mechanical prison guard escorted Qingchen out, and on the way back, Qingchen pondered. Previously, Lu Guanyi had said that he had been specifically requested by Qingchen to come to prison number 18 to help, but it was probably not the truth that Lu Guanyi knew. No wonder the shadow dispute was such an important matter, and Qing's family only sent one thug from a nursing home to help. So, he was abandoned by the family in the inner world as well. But what's the deal with this inexplicable engagement? Welcome to Hunter Beyond Time and Space chapter.